Hello and welcome to another episode of Tiva Drive, and this is exciting time for us because we are finally driving Volkswagen ID Buzz, and we thought we'd compare it for you with another brand new arrival, Volvo EX90. Both are 6-seaters. Of course, this is a van and this is an SUV. Also, the prices are slightly a bit different. Most of the other channels compare the ID Buzz with similarly priced Kia EV9, and it's true that EV9 is only within a couple of grand cheaper than the Buzz. But here we thought we'd compare it with the brand new arrival Volvo EX90. So the Volkswagen ID Buzz, the all-wheel drive version, first edition, starts at 86,000 plus options. The battery is 91 kilowatt hours gross, 86 net, with a rated range of 370 kilometers for the all-wheel drive version. We'll tell you about the results of our testing shortly when we take you for a test drive. And this will be our first impressions of the Volvo EX90. So we have never actually driven it, so you will be live with us as we drive it for the first time. And of course, this Volvo has a much bigger battery and it's much more powerful. It's 480 horsepower for the standard version and over 500 horsepower for the performance version. The pricing for the base version, which is the Plus, there's a Plus and there's a Performance. The Plus starts at 113,000 and the Performance version is about 10 grand more than that, so 123 plus options. Okay, so let's give you a walk around, give you an impression of the interior space, trunk space, and the front space. Okay, let's start with the Volkswagen. So it is a van. Right now the seat is positioned for me in a comfortable position. There we go. So it's actually, I can even move it forward. Excuse me, I have a bit of a cold. You have a electrochromatic glass roof. It's a fixed glass roof, but it's electrochromatic. It's opaque when you lock the car. When you start the car, it becomes see-through. Okay, so that's the front driving position. It has a comfort access. So when you turn on the car, when you close the door, the seat moves forward, etc. When you turn the car off, the seat moves back. So this is pretty much more of my driving position. So now let's check out the back space. Of course, it's electrically sliding doors. You have the electrically sliding open window here. We'll demonstrate it in a second. So here is the second row space, and you can adjust the moving. Oh, I forgot how to move those seats front and back. That's okay. Anyways, it's there. Okay. Wow, it's all the way down there. You really have to bend down to reach for it. Okay, got it. So now it's a very comfortable position. I'm not touching the seat in front of you. You have these armrests on either side, captain's chairs, the so-called captain's chairs. Okay, and then in the third row, I haven't been to the third row, but my 6'6" son has been to the third row, and he's pretty comfortable there. Here we go. Pretty easy access, and this has to go up. Yeah, so there's very comfortable access in both seats, and they both recline. Yeah, it's very comfortable. Lots of legroom here in the third row for tall adults. 6'3", which is myself. 6'6" for my son. No problem. Headroom, legroom, as you can see, very comfortable. The downside of this is, as you will see, is the space in the trunk. Okay, let's go and have a look at that. Very comfortable access, much more comfortable than all the electric SUVs with 3 rows that we tested recently, such as EV9 and even the Rivian R1S. So the Volvo, because of its pricing, would probably be better compared with Rivian R1S, but we have access to these two cars, so we thought we could compare them for you. Okay, so here it is. Here's the trunk. You have this little shelf and a couple of bins for cables, emergency tire kit, manuals, etc. So you can remove that and you can just lift it up to be able to put suitcases vertically. but it's not exactly a huge trunk. So the compromise, lots of room in the third row, not so much in the trunk. And you can of course adjust the positioning of the, there you go, you can recline the seats and you can adjust the headrest as well. Okay, so let's, by the way, this is a huge gate, look at this. You really have to be careful. So this is how much space you have to leave behind you when opening the gate. So when you're parking near walls or other cars, make sure you have enough space. It's a huge gate. Let's close it up. And now let's show you what's in the front of the car. The frunk is non-existent in the Volkswagen. All right, we have to pop it open. So there you go. So basically it's just the electronics and space for you to fill up the windshield washer. That's all it's good for. By the way, the front of the Volkswagen, you have the unibrow, including the lit up Volkswagen logo. That's of course usually part of an upgrade, but because this is a first edition car at 86 grand, all this comes standard. All right, so let's now jump into the Volvo and show you the space in first, second and third rows. I don't think I'll be attempting to get into the third row because it's just simply too tight. Okay, so there we go. Okay, there you go. The car is now on. So basically no on-off button. You just put your foot on the brake, just like in the Volkswagen, and then you take the gear down. And let's just make the volume lower. We have to turn off the radio later on. Okay, so that's a comfortable position for me here in the front. And let's get into the back. Okay. There we go. By the way, here is the charge port. We'll show you the charge port on the Volkswagen in a moment. And it's actually right across here. This is the Volkswagen charge port. Both will eventually get access to the Tesla NACS or adapters, but for now we're still waiting. Actually, Volvo is supposed to have already access via adapters. So once we get the next Volvo, we should ask for an adapter to be able to charge at the Tesla superchargers. That should be an interesting experience. Okay, so here's the second row in the Volvo. Quite comfortable, not touching the seat in front of me. Again, fixed glass sunroof, photochromatic. You have the vents, which is a nice thing in the EX90. We're very rare in the luxury SUVs. Unfortunately, you have the heating and air conditioning vent in the B pillar, including the center console as well, which is nice. This is what we have on our X5. Unfortunately, too few of the electric cars have the option of having both these vents here for the second row. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm gonna even attempt the third row here. Okay, that's gonna be very tight, very tight. Oh boy. Yeah, I won't even attempt to close the seat. Not enough headroom, not enough legroom at all, even if I push the seat forward. So the Volkswagen ID Buzz wins on the third row space for sure. It will win on the third row space with any electric SUV, three-row SUV out there at this moment. We're gonna wait to see the Lucid Gravity, of course, which is kind of a halfway between a van and an SUV. Maybe it will have a bit more space in the third row. For now, the Volkswagen ID Buzz is a third row space winner. Okay, let's open the gate. The gate is much smaller than the Volkswagen, of course. Okay, so here we go. So the trunk space is actually larger. Not only that, it sits higher than the Volkswagen. Let's open the Volkswagen Buzz. So the floor is much lower. If you remove those bins, this is a double floor. The actual floor starts here, as you can see. So it's much lower than the Volvo. However, Volvo, so the lip sits much higher, but you have quite a bit more storage here below the floor. It's quite a deep storage here, enough for a cables or something more. If you remove this shelf, then you have quite a large vertical space here in the trunk. So the Volvo wins on the trunk space, and the Volvo has one more bonus for storage, and it's the frunk. It does have a frunk, which Volkswagen doesn't have. Let's close the gate now. Let's show you the frunk space on the Volvo. By the way, thank you very much, as usual, to Volvo Metro West for giving us access to the Volvo EX90. We will have access to the EX90 from Volvo Canada hopefully soon, but for now, as always, we have our first impressions here at Volvo Metro West. Gary Sadowski is the manager here, in case you wanted to get a super deal on a Volvo plug-in hybrid or pure electric. So here's the frunk space. Here's the car manual, emergency tire kit, space for cables, small briefcase perhaps, and such. And here's your space to fill in your windshield washer. Okay, so that's about it for walk around. Let's, oh yeah, those lights. Yeah, we have to mention this is a motorized LED strip that opens and closes. I'm gonna flash the long high beams for you so you can see how it operates. All right, it's very interesting. That's the first time Volvo has modified the Thor's hammer with a animated LED strip that actually splits apart to reveal the headlights there. Okay, so that's about it for the... oh, another quick note, of course, the LiDAR. The LiDAR for now is supposed to be eventually allowing for the level 3 autonomy, hands-free and attention-free basically. For now, it's just collecting data. It's not actually activated to provide any assistance, but eventually it will allow for level 3 autonomy, so that you can have a hands-free driving and attention-free as well, just like the BMW and Mercedes are offering now in some markets, hopefully here soon as well. Okay, so let's jump in and give you our driving impressions. So here we are inside the 2025 Volvo EX90. This is the Plus base. For now, it's the base version. Good for 400 horsepower, so we were wrong. It's a little bit less horsepower. 400 horsepower, good for about 5.9 seconds 0 to 100 versus 6.4 on the Volkswagen, so only half a second quicker. And again, the horsepower here is 400 versus 335 on the Volkswagen ID Buzz. You of course can get the performance version for 10 grand more, and again the base price here is 113. For 123 you get the performance version with 500 horsepower and 4.7 seconds 0 to 100. Okay, so that being said, let's take you for a drive. Right now we're in one pedal driving. You select it through the menus here. You can have on, off, or automatic. Very quiet interior. The ID Buzz, by the way, the interior is very quiet as well. So you'll have to excuse me. We have a bit of a cold, so I might be coughing a bit through the video. So my apologies in advance. We're in January with the flip-flop weather that goes from warm. Today it's raining. Tomorrow we're going back into the deep freeze. So it's a nasty January flip-flop weather. Here's our friend from the Volvo Metro West. The manager Gary Sadowski here is always kind enough to lend us the cars before we get the chance to drive them for the full week from Volvo Canada. And we have to wait our turn behind some of the other top YouTube stars, of course, which get their priority. So we're glad that we are getting this first chance. So you'll have to excuse us because this is our first time. We don't know much about the car. We'll have a full review coming later once we get it for the full week, hopefully soon. Like Tesla style, you have all the controls are now basically concentrated on the screen, and when you look at our EX30 video, it's kind of a similar situation, with the big difference being here, this dashboard here, which the EX30 doesn't have. And this car is equipped with an electrochromatic sunroof, excuse me, and also soft closed doors, which is very nice. Proximity, opening it, and the car will open on proximity. Here's the key with no fobs, just like the EX30, no buttons on the key at all. So you have the card or you have this fob, and because the battery dies very quickly, they give us the card as well, which you have to place here in order to start the car when the fob is not working correctly. So we're gonna take it a bit on the highway so that we can demonstrate the autopilot and see if we can get it to become hands-free. So just like in the Tesla, a downward tap on the gear shifter puts you in autopilot mode, different than before, because then you would have the D and B for max regen, and here the regen is controlled through the center screen. So again, 400 horsepower. It is there's a performance mode, by the way, but today on a rainy day, temperature just around 0, we're not gonna risk. It's actually +3, but it could still be slippery, so we're not gonna use the performance mode here. And yeah, so the big difference between the two cars, number one, is the price. The ID Buzz all-wheel drive first edition, 86 grand versus 113 grand for this. This one has more power and has a much bigger battery. So again, 113 kilowatt hours gross versus 91 kilowatt hours gross on the Volkswagen, and the range is 100 kilometers more, 370 for the all-wheel drive Volkswagen ID Buzz versus 400 and almost 95 according to EPA. We don't have the Transport Canada rating yet. By the time we get this car for a full review, we'll tell you what the Transport Canada rating is for the all-wheel drive version and the performance, both. The difference on the EPA is only about 10 kilometers or so, not much. Same on the Volkswagen ID Buzz. Imagine that, the difference between the rear-wheel drive ID Buzz and the all-wheel drive is only 7 kilometers. 370 for all-wheel drive and 377 for the rear-wheel drive, where the rear-wheel drive has 280 horsepower and the all-wheel drive has 335 horsepower. And the acceleration, yeah, you have 6.4 on the ID Buzz for the all-wheel drive, and all the way to 9 seconds on the rear-wheel drive. So definitely we would recommend, I think most people in Canada will be buying the all-wheel drive version anyways. So there we go, let's go to the left lane and let's put it in autopilot. There we go. And we are in autopilot. I'm gonna hold on to the wheel because we're kind of merging onto other lanes here. It's working quite well. Okay, let's see if it's how soon it will tell us to hang on to the wheel, or if it's truly a hands-free system. So far the Volvo systems, yeah, keep your hands on the steering wheel, there you go. So it's not a fully hands-free system yet. Eventually it'll be, with that big LiDAR thing on the roof, hopefully, once they activate it. For now, yeah, let's just adjust the speed. And yeah, so it's just like the other Volvo autopilot systems. It's not a full hands-free. Eventually, hopefully, it will become. This car, the dealer told us, is being updated twice a week at least. So there's all these updates coming all the time. Over the air, you don't have to even think about it. Just like with the Tesla cars, you don't even have to think about it. The car is automatically being updated while you sleep, which is kind of nice. Here right now it's showing 230 kilometers at 54%. So yeah, kind of a high 400s is likely the range at full. We don't have the specs on the charging speeds yet. The other Volvo cars were charging at close to 200 kilowatts at best. Actually, next week we're gonna get a chance to drive the all-wheel drive twin EX30 smaller brother. So that's gonna be interesting. Let's see if it automatically changes lanes. Nope, no auto lane change. I get maybe it's geo-fenced. There's a good chance it might be geo-fenced, which means that you can only use it on certain highways under certain conditions. Today it's kind of it's raining, so that could affect the performance of the autopilot system. So right now we have to change the lane manually. Okay. All right, so that's about it in terms of our first impressions. Stay tuned for our full review of the Volvo EX90 in the next few weeks when we get it for a full week of testing. And now we're going to jump into the ID Buzz and give you the full results of our testing. We've been driving it for a week, so we'll give you a full rundown of our test results in terms of the consumption, the range, etc., etc. Okay, so here we are inside the 2025 Volkswagen ID Buzz. This is the first edition all-wheel drive, starting at 86 grand here in Canada, plus taxes and options. And again, we'll repeat quickly the specs. 91 kilowatt hour gross, 86 net battery, good for 370 kilometers range, rated range. But we'll tell you the results of our testing, which are quite a bit different, shortly. So here we go. The D is a normal coasting. B again is one pedal driving, so different than Volvo. The Volvo you have to go through the menus to toggle the one pedal driving on off. By the way, Volkswagen ID Buzz is not one pedal driving, so it's just high regen, but it won't stop. So let's demonstrate. It just keeps rolling. Okay, so we can accelerate. Excuse me. So it has a pretty aggressive regen, but it'll keep rolling. So you have to press on the brake to stop. And then the auto hold is again done through the menus. So there is auto hold, but you have to activate it through the menus. Okay, so that being said, let's talk about our impressions. We took it, as always, took it up north to Georgian Bay and back in pretty cold weather. Today is one warm day. It's on the plus side, it's plus 3 degrees and raining. We don't like that kind of weather. We'd prefer slightly below zero and sunny. But we had sunny and very cold, all the way down to like minus 20 during our test driving north, and there was quite a bit of snow as well. So the car is equipped with snow tires and the upgraded rims, wider rims, which obviously affects the range. Let's just go the same route like we just drove with the Volvo EX90, so just to be fair. So the range will be affected by snow tires and the larger rims, and that's one of the reasons. Oh boy, what is this truck doing? Sorry, there's some idiot truck reversing on the 3-lane, 6-lane highway. Fabulous. Okay, so the range, the rated range is, as we mentioned, 370 kilometers for the. Yeah, thank you very much. Not very smart. Anyways, 377 for the rear-wheel drive version, 370 kilometers for the version with all-wheel drive. So not much of a difference. Only 7 kilometers difference between rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. The horsepower difference is 280 for the rear-wheel drive, 335 for the all-wheel drive. Very large difference in performance or acceleration. It's 6.4 seconds for the all-wheel drive, 9 seconds for the rear-wheel drive. So there's definitely quite a bit of a performance difference between these two versions of the ID Buzz. I anticipate vast majority of the ID Buzz here in Canada will be sold with all-wheel drive. Just like with the Volvo, I think the pricing is going to be a challenge for both Volkswagen and Volvo. This is one of the most expensive Volkswagens ever. If you remember, there was a ill-fated Phaeton, luxury W12 Volkswagen. There was also an Arteon, an upscale, upgraded Passat. None of them sold in large numbers. So hopefully Volkswagen will introduce less expensive versions of this. And this being a first edition, again, it's stuffed with upgrades. So there will be other versions arriving later, hopefully, and less expensive. I'm not sure if the Volkswagen will introduce versions with smaller battery or the short wheelbase version, the 5-seater, which we drove in Europe a couple of years ago. We have the video of that, by the way. It has less power. It's a rear-wheel drive with a much smaller battery. So for the sake of bringing the price down, might be worth considering, but not sure if Volkswagen Canada will go for that in the future. For now, you have the choice of these two, 80 grand for the rear-wheel drive, 86 grand for the all-wheel drive. Both are first editions, and that's all you can buy for now. Okay, so the test results. So we did 3 different fast charging sessions, and we did the trip up north. We did not bother with hypermiling because in the winter it's kind of pointless. So we did round trip on the highway 400 northbound and 400 southbound, and the consumption on the highway was consistently at 32 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Let's turn on the autopilot. Here we go. So you just do it by pressing on the set button here, and you can modulate the displays here. So now we have the consumption display here. As you can see, consumption quite high because we've been sitting in the car warming the car up, so it's showing quite high consumption. Anyways, the average consumption on the highway we got was 32 based on the 86 net kilowatt hour battery size. That gives us about 270 kilometer winter range on the snow tires on this Volkswagen ID Buzz. Not very much, and it's 100 kilometers below the rated range. So again, the rated range is always done in ideal conditions, but also on smaller rims and all-season tires. So we'll see when we get the chance to test drive this car in warmer weather. Let's just get it up to highway speeds. Then we'll be able to see if we can match or beat the Transport Canada range rating. We usually are able to beat the Transport Canada rated range. The interesting thing here that the EPA has rated this car for longer range than Transport Canada. So in EPA has rated them at 400 all-wheel drive and 409 rear-wheel drive, which is 30 kilometers more than Transport Canada. Usually Transport Canada and EPA from the US are identical or very, very similar. So there's quite a bit of a gap between the range rating of EPA and Transport Canada for some reason. So we did try to run it around the city. Running it around the city, we never managed to get it below the 30 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers range. In fact, it seems to be using more energy on short city hops. So, 30 to 32 the entire week, that's been our consumption on this Volkswagen ID Buzz. It's a very comfortable van. It wins big on the third row space. It's the most third row space that we've experienced in a long time. Way better than EV9, way better than R1S and some of the other 3-row SUVs. But the trunk space is smaller, so I think people, if you're going to be transporting 6 passengers and with luggage, you may have to get a roof box, which again is going to affect the range. So that's about it. Oh, of course, the DC sessions, we have to tell you all about it. You can precondition the battery. You can activate the battery preconditioning ahead of the DC session via the on-screen menus here. And once you do it and you set the navigation for the fast charger using the in-car navigation, not Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you have to choose a fast charging station through the in-car navigation, and then the car will automatically precondition the battery. So we did 2 sessions with preconditioning, 1 without, and the results were quite different. So with preconditioning, we got right away a speed of between 130 and 140, and then without preconditioning, all we got was about 80 kilowatts of fast charging speed. So it makes a difference. Of course, the preconditioning will mean that you'll consume more energy. Excuse me, the consumption is going to be higher, but in some instances it might be worth preconditioning if you're in a rush to get somewhere, or if you're going into a fast charging that's charging by the minute. And we don't have a standard system. Most fast charging stations in Canada are per kilowatt hour, but some of them are still per hour or per minute charges. So again, and the preconditioning, you do it, you can choose to have it or not have it. You choose through the menus, on-screen menus here, if you want to precondition the car. That's about it. If you have any questions regarding our tests of this car, we did give you a walk around already, show you the space. We can just show you this little neat 2 cup holders here that you can close or open. Standard glove compartment here. The LEDs, you have them all around. We haven't been able to, for some reason, you're supposed to have the verbal command, "Hey Ida." We have not been able to activate it. You should be able to change the ambient lighting color inside. We haven't found the proper menu to change the ambient lighting inside the car. And we haven't been able to activate the "Hey Ida" or "Hey Volkswagen" verbal commands. So we've basically only been using the on-screen menus here. But other than that, we had lots of fun with the car. It's a very spacious car that will give you the utmost comfort for all 6 passengers, including very tall passengers in the 3rd row, with a very easy access back there. As usual, do not forget to press the subscribe button on our channel to be informed when the next review will be coming. We have to thank our sponsor, Condos and Castles Realty Inc. You can find them at www.condosandcastles.com. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you at the next review. One quick note before we go is showing you the various driving modes. The car does have Eco, Comfort, Sport, Traction, and Custom driving modes. So in Eco, we've been driving, all of our testing has been done in Eco. This is not a sports car, so we did not bother with the sports mode, which you need in order to get that 6.4 seconds. But because it's winter, we're on winter tires, tricky road conditions, we did not bother, but maybe we should try now. So Eco still has a very good pickup. Then your comfort, the car starts always in comfort mode and defaults every time you start the car, it defaults back to comfort mode. So let's try sport for the first time ever. Actually, we never bothered with the sport mode. And of course the highway, it's a weekend and it's 4:27, and the highway is just an absolute nightmare. And it's not even, the weather isn't even that bad, it's just a slight rain. And of course it's the weekend, full of weekend drivers. Oh, somebody slipped and there's an accident. Somebody is just flipped over facing the wrong direction. So there was an accident here, which must have just happened because we were driving by here just a few minutes ago and everything was fine. So there was an accident here. Okay, so sport. Yeah, you can feel the pickup. The acceleration is much stronger in sport mode. You can feel the brunt of the full 335 horsepower, and not as quick as the EX90, which has 400 horsepower, and perhaps we'll get to test drive the performance version with 500 horsepower, good for 4.7 seconds. This is a van, so I don't think too many people will be using the sport mode. You really need a sport mode in a van. So again, even if you're in eco traction, we haven't been able to drive in the snow because up north the snow is so deep that we couldn't even get in or out with this car to test the traction mode. So let's just put it back in eco, and even in eco the acceleration is good enough. So honestly, I think my recommendation is just keep driving this van in eco mode. You'll be happy with it as is. So that's it for the different drive modes, and thanks again for watching. See you at the next review.